Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Found in the Flock, podcast number 4. Today we have another very special guest. We have Colin Provart. He is a leader at SaltCo at my church through some of the local colleges here in Colorado. He's a great man, very wise for his age. He's a great teacher, a great father, great husband, and an even better friend. Hope you enjoy our conversation. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Found in the Flock, podcast episode 4. Today we've got another great and special guest, another great person in my life who's helped me in my faith and getting me back on the right path. He's a SaltCo leader, man of God, Minnesota native, Minnesota alum, go Gophers, and most
Come on.
importantly, follower of Christ, husband and father of one, Colin Provart. How you doing? Nice to have you.
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, dude. So excited we could get you on. I know I asked you about it a few weeks ago. Had some scheduling conflicts, but when we started making the show, like you're one of the guys that helped me get back to where I need to be walking with the Lord. And I was like, it would be reminiscent not to have you on the show. So yeah, as we start off with most guests, I just want to ask you, how you got here, a little bit of a backstory. You can go as deep or as shallow as you want. You could talk about your testimony, or you can just talk about your college life and then moving to Colorado if you want.
Yeah, I'll go kind of with an in between, and if you have more questions, ask. But I grew up, yeah, in a Christian home and went to the University of Minnesota, which obviously is a big state school, and loved my time there. Loved my time there, but throughout my time there, went from my freshman year being really hard to God really using the Salt Company ministry and some really key people in my life to not uh, just tell me what the gospel is, but show me what the gospel is and show me what it means to love Jesus and follow him. And so after I graduated from Minnesota with a business degree, thought I was going to go make a bunch of money. Uh, all right, I got my son Kyler with me, and he is being a little wild, which is good. Uh, but after I graduated from Minnesota with a business degree, thought I was going to make a bunch of money, felt like God was calling me to do ministry, so I ended up joining staff with Salt Company in Minnesota, which was the college ministry I was a part of there, and uh, just fell in love with meeting with students, telling them about the love Jesus had for them. Fell in love with opening the Bible, reading it for myself, teaching it to others, and so after 4 years on staff with Salt Company in Minnesota, just felt like God was kind of calling us to a new place, and an opportunity opened in Colorado at Storyline, and to start a salt company there to reach multiple schools, but namely the Colorado School of Mines and a bunch of the football guys that were coming there. And so, Josh, that's how we ended up kind of connecting, and how I ended up in Colorado.
That's awesome, man. Um, okay. By the way, Kyler, dude, I love it. What a guy. But yeah, I don't want
He was
to.
like perfectly behaved as we were doing kind of the like rules before we start recording, and then you say, okay, we're recording, and he goes, "Meow." It's like that is parenting. That's quintessential parenting right
Oh
there.
yeah, absolutely. I don't want to get too deep into it right now. Just still trying to like get to know you surface level. So I guess my first like real question would be like, coming from Minnesota, coming out to Colorado, feeling that calling, kind of what felt specific to that calling. Talking about how God was speaking to you, come to Colorado, and then leading into Storyline, our church, but then as well, just because I didn't grow up in Colorado. I went to West Virginia. Go Mountaineers. I did say go Gophers, so I feel like I need to go back on that. But what was a big culture shock for you moving from Minnesota out to Colorado as well?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, to the first part of the question, what was calling us? I think I'll say three. There were obviously like a lot of different things. Um, there was just something in Rachel and I's relationship. Rachel's my wife. That just felt like, man, this was going to be good for us, good for her, good for me, good for our marriage. It just felt like there was something in it that friends were affirming, that people we were respecting were affirming, that our prayer life was affirming that, hey, this is going to be good just for us personally, our marriage. The second thing is I am young and I want to learn. I know that I have the most important years of my life likely are ahead of me, not behind me, in terms of ministry impact and influence and things. And so I wanted to be in a place where I felt like I was going to learn from people I really respected and where I could grow in a different place and learn from different people. And so that was really important to me. And then the third one was the opportunity to make an impact, to bring something that I felt like God had taught me and given me a deep heart and burden for to a new place. Uh, and so the opportunity to come and really put some rails on what God was doing in college students already before I even got there, but really to maybe point it in a direction was really compelling to me. And so I would say that those were kind of the primary things that drove us to Colorado. I think culture shock, that's a good question. I think because we were in Minneapolis, there wasn't as much, just like urban center to urban center. Things don't change quite as much. I would say though, like the outdoor culture is real, which people know and people talk about, but I'm not like a Colorado person. So many people move to Colorado for Colorado. Like I love skiing, and I like skiing. I like hiking, but I'm not like given my life to it, you know? And I think the thing that was most shocking to me was how much I just love Colorado, the outdoor culture, people going on walks, being able to get to the mountains really easily. So that's maybe not culture shock as much as maybe uh, like reverse culture shock, kind of like everyone thought, or that's why everyone else moves. And I didn't move for that reason, but end up loving it.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, go for it.
Um, I'm gonna kind of backtrack a little bit. I know you said you grew up in a Christian home, but I was just gonna see like when did your relationship really start with Christ? Like what age and kind of what led to it?
Yeah. Yeah, so I would say it really started my freshman year, end of my freshman year at the University of Minnesota. What led to it? I mean, obviously, my whole life led to it, right? Which I know that's not exactly what you're
Yes.
asking, but I think it's important to say the foundation that was laid in a Christian home and going to Christian school and studying my Bible from a young age mattered to me and mattered to what God was going to do in my life. But really, what led to it, I think, where more your question is directed at was, I mean, I went to a Christian high school, and so I was like good at being good, kind of playing the Christian game, being moral. Was smaller high school, so was relatively successful at things I tried, and then I go to the University of Minnesota, and it's like, man, you're a high school athlete, and you go to the University of Minnesota. It's like, man, I'm not the most athletic guy on this campus by far, right? Like, I'm not playing a sport. Um, I'm not the smartest person. Like there are brilliant people that go to the University of Minnesota. Uh, Socially, like it's no longer cool to be good; it's cool to be bad, in a sense. Uh, and I just realized, like, whoa, all these things that I built my identity on, relationship, success, all these things, the foundation of those was taken away, and so I'm left in this place where I'm sad, I'm lost, I'm having really an identity crisis, most fundamentally. And it was like the gospel had never become, it was true, but it wasn't beautiful. And it was at that point that it was like, oh my goodness, salvation is not me being good. Salvation is that while I was a sinner, Christ died for me. Um, Romans 5. And so I would say the kind of end of my freshman year when God had taken a lot of those things away is when I really like committed to following Jesus.
Mm.
Did you like when you were a freshman, did you go to college with like friends from high school or like were you surrounded by the right people to help lead you down that path or were you kind of near maybe like the party scene with certain people and you're like I don't like that and that. Not saying like it's an either or. I was just curious like if the people around you in college helped at all.
Yeah, man, again, God was really kind. So I didn't go to school with like a bunch of my best friends. I knew people that were there, but Minnesota's so big. Like you end up in a
Right.
different freshman dorm building and you study different things, you like don't really see them unless you're super intentional with it. So through a connection at high school, I end up with my roommate whose name is Cole, and Cole and I didn't know each other, but again through this mutual connection. And what's hilarious is Cole and I, he would probably articulate it a little differently, but we're in really an identical spot. Like grew up in the church, but didn't have a passion for the work of Jesus and what it meant for our life. And so we like that both like protected us in the sense that we were looking for a Christian ministry. We weren't looking to like get like super deep into the party scene. Uh, but neither of us were like trying to like really show the beauty of the gospel to the other. And then God just like really started doing a really sweet work in our life at about the same time. And so Cole is still one of my best friends. We lived together through college, was in my wedding. Man, I love that man deeply. He shaped me. I think he would say I've shaped him. Just one of those like brother, iron sharpen iron relationships that has been so fun to continue on even post college.
That's
That's cool.
awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, I just had to ask because I noticed that like me going to college, um, especially with like transfer portal, because I was in sports and all that. Like at the beginning, I kept switching friend groups and had trouble like getting in a good one until my friend Austin, who I knew in high school, came over. But I noticed that who I'm surrounded by was like kind of what I did, whether it was the party scene or the Christian ministry, which took me a minute in college to get to. So it wasn't my freshman year, but a little bit later. So I just had to ask if the people around you were an influence or not.
For sure. I mean, I think people say, you know, you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And I think when people say that, you know, they're trying to be like sociologically really intelligent. And I'm just kind of like, well, I feel like the Bible makes that argument. Maybe not with those words, but we're going to become that which we surround ourselves with. And I think God intends it that way so that when we surround ourselves, like you were saying, Addison, with believers, we're going to grow naturally.
Right. Yeah. No, I agree.
Yeah, definitely. I wanted to ask about, you talked about freshman years, kind of when you felt that change and not wanting to leave college just yet. But I kind of want to ask you just because, everyone's walk is so personal with the Lord. That's what makes it beautiful, right? How did God meet you in private, right? When you first started getting back into it and you start feeling like, oh my goodness, like this is the presence of God. But then I want to take that one step further as you start getting like deep into the Salt Co ministry, because Minnesota was a big Salt Co network school, right? When you start to see that in public, then you start feeling God's presence in public. So again, just like how do you felt God met you in that time, both in private and in public?
Yeah, that's a good question. I would say, not that Josh, what you said is wrong, but it just happened to me in reverse.
Mm,
Um, I would say, really, my sophomore year was characterized by like, oh, I can be known and loved at the same time. Because I think that was such a big fear of like the pressure was to be good and to be impressive and to have my life together. And so my sophomore year, I began to confess sin and see that my relationships actually deepen. They don't like people don't distance themselves, they actually deepen. And I began to tell people I don't have my life together and I'm struggling with sin and I'm being convicted of sin. And in some ways I'm enslaved to certain sins that I like need help fighting. And so God just so deepened me in uh, small group, connection group that I was in that met in my apartment sophomore year. That again, Cole was my roommate. That I got to like our relationship freshman year. It kind of felt like was one upping each other. Like you're always trying to be a little bit better, you know, a little bit smarter, a little bit more athletic, have a little bit better resume. And sophomore year, it just becomes, um, oh man, we're struggling with sin together and fighting alongside each other to see victory. So that was my sophomore year. And then I would say kind of the personal, not that it wasn't personal before that, but I remember God meeting me a lot my junior year. So that's a little bit where I started to feel this call to ministry. And man, it's probably the most I've prayed and read my Bible in a year. ever. And I hope that's not true for the rest of my life. I hope I have years that I read more and pray more. But man, that year was just characterized by I'd like wake up, shower, read my Bible for an hour, go to class, come home, read my Bible. I mean, I was listening to sermons. I was just like in all the quiet moments of my life was communing with God. And that's not to say like, oh, I was perfect at it or I was perfectly holy, but just there was something about what God was doing in my life that I was like, I just have to have more of this. Um, and so that was, uh, I would say that's really what characterized my junior year. Um, was what you were talking about, Josh, of kind of these quiet moments where God was just meeting me, continuing to uproot sin, continuing to like give me big view of Him, that just made me love following Him.
That's awesome. I'm happy that you touched on a few things there, but really quickly before I get into that, you talked about actually that it was flipped for you, kind of almost feeling that public scene first before that private scene. That again, that's what I feel makes the a connection with Christ so beautiful and literally perfect because it meets every person differently. Like for mine, it was he met me in private first, and then I got to see him in public, and I felt like I almost
Hmm.
needed that private because in public I was going to church for my parents. I was flat out going to Saltco when it was before it was Saltco, and when it was just
Hmm.
in the student room because of my roommates. I was just doing this because of somebody else, and then getting met in private with him, speaking with him in private, then led into the public. But as well, what you touched on, which I love, which kind of doubles back on what you're talking about, the actual beauty of the gospel, is meeting and getting around more right-minded friends in the gospel and in Christ. You get that confession, right? And it feels good to just get something like that off your chest. But when you say something that in your mind you're like, oh my goodness, nobody could ever love me for this, and they're like, yeah, man, that happens. Like, how can we help you? How can we pray for you? How can we continue to help you in your walk with God? And like, that is 100% the best way that talking about the gospel. That's that true beauty in it is getting accepted, regardless of what you've done in the past because God doesn't care. God just wants your heart. God just wants you.
Yeah, that's so good. And I think, right, like that's again back to a little bit what Addison was saying at the beginning, which is that's just how God's designed it, right? Is His Spirit fills believers. And I think so often we are quick to remember that His Spirit fills us, but slow to remember that His Spirit fills others. Um, Depending on how long we talk for, I'll probably continue to say something along those lines because I'm just passionate about it, and God's teaching me that right now. Um, but I think like, oh man, this brother loved me so well after I confessed sin. It's like, oh, that's yes, that brother loved you well, but that's actually God meeting you through His Spirit through that person. And so I think that's just such a beautiful picture of the gospel and of God's indwelling Spirit.
He is active right now.
Dude, he's whiny. It's
What's his,
getting
what's his name?
go ahead. Kyler,
Oh,
Kyler.
okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, he's something. I might we might have to take a quick pause and see if I can get him laid down for a nap if he's gonna continue to whine like this.
All right, whatever
That
whatever we
works.
need to do. Um,
I'll I'll try. I'll try. That might be best for all of us. So
okay,
give me like 2 minutes.
okay.
Um, no, I think we can maybe move forward. I don't know the timeline here, but I was gonna ask how you met your wife and that journey.
Yeah. Yeah. I met her, let's see if I can remember. Fall of 2018. So she had become a believer that summer. She had finished her freshman year and was going sophomore year at Minnesota. I'd finished my sophomore year, was going into my junior year. Um, And so meet her, she's dating someone else at the time, which is just hilarious. So we're friends at first, couple months of being friends. She breaks up with her boyfriend. Um, and then a little while later, we start dating. We date for 2 years. She was an athlete at Minnesota, so kind of between our schedules, we just didn't see each other a whole lot, which was actually probably really good and healthy. We had were able to grow deep friendships then with others, and yeah, I guess we dated for a year and a half um, before we got engaged, and then we're engaged for 6 months, and then December of 2020 got married.
Let's go.
Yeah, almost 5 years. This December will be 5 years,
What day in
which is
December?
crazy. December 4th.
4th. Okay. Well, we'll be looking forward to that.
Hmm.
Unfortunately, I shouldn't be up in Colorado, so I won't be able to tell you congratulations in person.
Well, I appreciate that. I guess it's not technically on the 4th, but we leave on like the 6th, and we're doing a little anniversary trip to Mexico. So that'll be sufficient congratulations. Rachel and I are looking forward to that.
Well, we'll pray for safe travels. Where in Mexico?
Appreciate that. Cabo.
Cabo. Oh, there you go.
Hmm.
Nice.
Let's go. Hey, 5 years, first
Yeah, it'll be
milestone.
fun.
Yeah. Well, I guess actually,
I know.
first anniversary. I guess would be first milestone. But
Yeah, but five feels like a significant one.
yeah.
So
Well, hey, pray it towards the all the way to the end of y'all's life.
come on.
If you don't mind me asking this, I was just gonna ask maybe in a biblical sense, like your guys' walk together. So when you met her, like, and you guys started dating, what was that walk with God with her like? And did that start like right when you guys were dating? Did it happen when you guys were married? Like, does that make sense? What I'm asking?
Yes. If I don't answer it exactly the way you want, follow up. But
Okay.
I think at first it's so hard. And not that we did this perfectly, but we really tried to do stuff in stages. So the first stage was like, are you a Christian? Yes. Okay. And then honestly, I feel like the first maybe 6 months of our relationship was just like, do we like spending time together? We were talking about spiritual things sometimes, but we weren't like, it'd be like, hey, I listened to this sermon. Hey, this new song we'd send to each other. Hey, I liked this from the Sunday message or from Salt Company. But we really weren't like intertwining our walks with the Lord. Um, 6 months into starting to date, she spent 2 months in China overseas as on a mission trip, and God just like shaped her and formed her. And so I would say in the next 6 months, so the fall, kind of from 6 months into our relationship to a year into our relationship, the spiritual conversation was, hey, we both are passionate about following Jesus with our whole lives and see him using our lives in significant ways. The question became, are those ways overlapped? So the closest Rachel and I ever came to breaking up was we were sitting in a coffee shop, and she was like, I think God's calling me to be a missionary. And I said, I think God's calling me to do ministry in the States. And I don't know if like global missions is what God's calling me to. And it was the closest we ever came to breaking up in terms of like, man, I love you. I love what God's doing in your life. But if God is asking us to do different things, we can't in good conscience stay together. And so then that next 6 months, the 6 months before engagement was, I would say, really like intertwining our lives in terms of like discerning. I think she came to, I could do ministry in the States, and I came to, I could do ministry overseas, which is what God needed to do in each of us. And so that happened. And again, we still had like, we're confessing sin to, I was confessing sin to a group of guys, she was confessing sin to a group of girls. Those were like those separate spaces were our primary like spiritual family at the time. Um, and then we get engaged, and obviously we were really confident when we got engaged. But that I would say engagement is when we really started to like intertwine our spiritual lives a little bit more. Of hey, I want you to know like what you're marrying, who you're marrying, sin tendencies, and just wanting us to step into marriage December 4th, the 5th, and then for the rest of our life into a union together. But I think if I'm allowed to get on a soapbox here for a second, Addison, in answer to your question, I think so often we try to intertwine spiritual lives too early when it's like
Mhm.
not what God's called us to, right? I remind, as I do like premarital with people, I remind them so often, like in my life, December 3rd of 2020, um, if Rachel and I were to both tragically die, I'd stand on the throne and give an account of my life only. And then come December 4th, December 5th, after we've given our vows, I now stand before the throne and give an account for my life and her. And so we got to remember that, yes, there are things that should progressively grow, but we don't want to intertwine our lives before God has commanded us to intertwine our lives. And I think it's actually damaging to do that too early and too often. Um, because I think then we're living outside of the reality of what's true spiritually, right? Like if Rachel's dependent on me, she's before we're married, she's living outside the reality of what God is asking her to do and how God's asking her to live.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was actually going to comment on that. But yeah, I feel like a lot of Christians do as soon as they start dating or before they start dating someone, everything's got to line up a certain way. But I like how you guys grew together as you were dating, but not you guys kind of grew separately as you were dating and then eventually like intertwined. Wow. Which I think is kind of cool. So, because
For
I
sure.
know for me too, sometimes I look too much into it and I'm like, oh no, it's got to be this, this, and this in order to be like a woman of God or a man of God. But in reality, he can grow you at any stage of life. And so, yeah, I think that's cool. Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. And I think what you said is right. Like God was growing us together, but also growing us separately. And like we had separate dreams at one point that God's now used to kind of give us kingdom, like kind of a cohesive kingdom dream.
Yeah. If I can quickly take over, or not take over, but kind of a point off of that. I remember talking to you about something like that, and you had mentioned like making sure that you have that foundation of each other first before start using before like start trying to build a relationship on that faith, because then you can kind of like almost flip it how so many people, will make a relationship about one thing or the other, and it's not anymore about each other. Is like that's like your main pillar, right? And faith needs to be a main pillar of any relationship. But if that's your only pillar together, then you don't really know the person the same way that, and maybe I am overstepping a little bit, but almost the same way some people make it about sex is like that's the only way that you know that person, and you don't have that genuine connection with them. And when I first started speaking to you about that a few years ago at this point, or a couple years ago, you'd mentioned that, and like it like clicked. It was like, oh my gosh, that's actually such a great way to put it. And I don't think you quite put the sex in there, but like that's how I took it, and I really like that because it's something that I never heard. It's always like make sure you're equally yoked, equally yoked, equally yoked, but it's not talking about like making sure you know in the Bible it says you're going to leave your father and mother to be one. It's like you can't be one if you only know one facet of someone's life.
For sure. And I think like to make it just like super simple and clear, because I think even when you say that, people are like, wait, so you're saying faith's like not important? And I know that's not what oh, can you okay, good.
Okay, there we go.
Uh I thought I cut out for a second.
You're freezing up a little bit, but oh, there we go. All right, we're all good.
Yeah, I don't know why. Anyway, um I think when you say that, Josh, I think people could be like, wait, so faith isn't important or it's not the most important thing. And that's not what you're saying. And it's not what I said. It's like, again, most simply, I've done counseling with people, and it's like, yeah, we like love each other and we've like intertwined our walks with Jesus. And I'm like, do you like spending time with them? And they're like, no. It's like, well, that doesn't sound like an awesome marriage.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you don't like just hanging with them,
Mm-hmm.
that just like doesn't. So it's like, yes, you need a foundation of faith from which to build. But if you like, yeah, I mean, to use sex as an example, it's like the sex is great, but when we're just hanging out, it's like I think you'll just hate marriage,
Yeah.
like to that person. Um, and so it's the same thing of like we have this foundation. You need a common foundation of faith, but you also need to answer just like simple questions. Do you have the same dreams? Do you
Mm-hmm.
like hanging out together? Do you laugh together? And if the answer is no, it's not ungodly to just not date.
Yeah. And like one more, because I do have a question, but like I just want to piggyback on that again real quickly. Like anything that I said right there, I'm glad that you pointed that out. I'm absolutely not saying that faith is not in my opinion, the utmost important thing, because at the end of the day, you guys can absolutely love each other, but if you are unequally yoked, then absolutely, like, regardless of everything else you built, that is the sole basis of it. And almost viewing it like the pyramids, right? Your cornerstones and your capstone need to be faith. That's what's going to make your relationship beautiful, in my opinion, is that capstone, because you can get through anything. But those cornerstones are what help hold it up. And if you don't have those cornerstones, all the stones in the middle, all the laughs, all the fun, they're going to fall apart. So 100%, and I'm so happy that you brought that up. But I'm also so happy that you brought up about premarital counseling. We talked to Chris about that a little bit, and I want to real quickly before I ask this. Did you say that you're now leading some premarital counseling?
I've done it. I've done it
Okay.
before.
So then I would ask again another two-parter. In your relationship, both with Rachel and in your personal walk, did you guys go through premarital?
Kind of a version of it.
Okay. Well, even in that, like answering those kind of questions, getting those hard hitters asked to you, how did you notice that shaping not only your relationship with Rachel, but your relationship with God, both personal and, God's sanctioned relationship for you? And then, in that same sense, when doing the little bit of leading that you've done in it and being the one asking those questions.
Yeah, I'll answer personally, which should maybe shape how I do it with others. So thanks for asking that question. I feel like personally, it was simultaneously a letting go of idolatry, of like, I mean, I see her and like I idolize her, and I need Jesus to be on the throne of my life, not be on the throne of my life. And like diagnosing areas where, so it's like loving her less, and part of counseling was like loving her more and like seeing the things that maybe I um didn't initially love, or annoyances, as like gift of grace to me in my relationship. So it's like simultaneously loving her more and seeing the ways God's gifted her and wired her, um for her flourishing, for my flourishing, for the flourishing of people in our lives, and loving her less, not in the sense that like I don't love her, but in the sense that I must love God more than her. So I think that's maybe what characterized our premarital, was kind of, hey, let's, and obviously you do that through talking about hard topics, right? You talk about um, sexual brokenness in the past, what sexual intimacy will look like. You talk about money, you talk about future, you talk about family, you talk about um, yeah, just like previous family things. What you want your new family to look like, what it looks like to like leave and create boundaries with your old family and leave and create healthy rhythms and uh, of intimacy, more than just physical, but healthy rhythms of intimacy in your marriage. I think others, obviously, I don't mean this in like a I don't want to share others' tea. I mean it in like uh, counseling is so personal, right? In the sense that man, what one couple needs, another like walks in pretty easily. So the things that usually um, and I'll point to are uh, past. So like past sin, past brokenness, family brokenness, um, Family's a big one. Like, what family tendencies are you bringing into a marriage that, if not properly communicated and expectations kind of aren't laid, could be really hard. Um, yeah, I think helping them ask the questions they haven't asked is maybe the most key one, which again, people can go in different directions. You can go from like, do you have fun together to do you guys like know each other's salvation stories? Obviously, those are extremes and usually don't happen quite that clearly in a premarital counseling, like once you're engaged. Um, but I think like those are the ends of like you know each other spiritually and like deep parts of each other's life, and then like, hey, these are areas where even like there's just some rub and disagreement. How can we help bring patience and understanding in those places?
So, sorry, I do have to leave soon, so I kind of have a couple questions if you don't mind if I switch the topic real quick.
No,
Um,
go ahead.
so I had the opportunity to lead FCA at Fairmont State. God put on my heart to do so, and um, these are kind of like I guess fun questions. I had a couple favorite lessons that God allowed me to teach, and then I also had a couple like favorite moments in FCA watching certain people grow. So kind of a two-parter. My first one would be, what's like one of your favorite lessons to teach uh, college kids? Would be like my first question, if that makes sense. And it's kind of a weird question, but I was just curious about it.
Yeah, that's a good question. Um, it depends on the setting. I'll just rapid fire things that come to my mind. Ephesians 2, just the gospel. I think so many college students think they know what it looks like to follow Jesus and don't know Ephesians 2. And I'm not saying memorize it, but that they were dead in their sins. But God, verse 4, made us alive together with Christ. By grace, you've been saved through faith. I love Ephesians 2. Psalm 23, that's more recent. I've always obviously always loved Psalm 23, but even in the last year, God's just used Psalm 23 to minister to me. And so using just what God's taught me to teach others, Psalm 23. And then another one would be more like top how do I know God's will for my life? I just am so passionate that God has made people to be ambassadors of a better kingdom. And when we know how God's wired us, and for the good of people around us.
Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. Could you repeat that real quickly at the very end? You cut out for the last 5, 10 seconds.
Yeah. Um, I like teaching people how to determine God's will for their life so they can live as ambassadors of a better kingdom.
Awesome.
Yeah. No, I like that a lot. And then I could have 1,000 questions just off the three lessons you gave me, but for time purposes, um, do you have like one of your, and a lot, they're all good, and I have a lot of favorite moments, but do you have like a favorite or cool moment while leading college ministry? Whether it was a lesson you learned from yourself with college kids, or whether it was, oh, a college kid caught something, and you're like, wow, I really see the presence of God in that kid. I say kid, but like they're my age. That college.
Yeah.
Every college minister,
Um,
I swear, so called college kids.
I mean, we
I
are
try
kids
really,
still.
Yeah.
no, I try really hard to actually not call people kids because I think kids sound like they need help and supervision. And I think college students can change the world. And so I try really hard to not call them kids. Uh, I don't know if there's one. I think my favorite thing is like looking back and like people like Josh, who I meet at first, and obviously God was doing something in him when I met him. I'm not saying, but like seeing him just grow and mature, and other guys that were his football teammates that he brought grow and mature, and getting to look back. My favorite memories are probably when I meet someone as a freshman and I get to see them graduate. um, that's really awesome.
Yeah. No, that's definitely cool. Um, I'm trying to pick a question to be honest. It's not that I don't have one. Uh, Off the lessons you talked about, I did want to point out that I liked it. Is when I asked like the lessons you taught, you didn't go off topics right away. You went off books, or chapters. I mean, because for me, for a while leading, I was choosing topics because that's how I wanted to be taught. And I think obviously that's a good thing, is to choose topics at times. But I liked how you chose chapters instead of you preaching it. It's like you're using God's word instead to teach. So I think that's cool. I think I'll run out of time with the questions I have. So if I think of any that are emergent, I'll text Josh real quick. So I am sorry I have to leave. But thank you very much for joining.
Oh, absolutely. Thanks for having me, Addison.
Yeah. All right.
Yep.
I'm gonna head off here.
All right.
So
Love you, brother.
love you.
All right. As long as you're good to keep going, I got a few more questions for you, and Addison might shoot me a text. But if you got to take off, just let me know, man.
Cool. I'm good for a few more.
Awesome. I do want to quickly say, you talked about like you don't want to take the glory, in somebody like me, um, and not that you're taking the glory, but like seriously, man, like something that is too easy, um, at least maybe in myself, and I think we've talked about it once, is like trying to humble yourself in everything, and not trying to give yourself the glory, but like you get to at least find the joy in that. Like, yeah, God might have been working in me. Yeah, God might have been the one laying the stones forward, but you got to be the one to like correct me a little bit. You got to be the one
Mm.
in my life, and I don't want to say like I don't want to tell you what to do, but like seriously, man, um, like seriously, you meant so much in my faith and in my walk, and don't sell yourself short, man. You answer the calling. That's the biggest thing. You get to
Mm.
take that joy that you answered that calling.
Yeah, thanks for saying that. I appreciate that. And yeah, it's just fun, to your point, to be used by God, right? Like God is the one doing the work, but it's really fun when He chooses to allow people to be a part of it. And it's been the greatest joy of my life to, um, in little small ways, get to play a role in people's lives.
Yeah, it's just it is crazy. I remember when Riley, who was my roommate at the time, for those who don't know, um, he was a Salt Co leader first, and he's actually somebody that came into his faith later than me, and was a big part of my journey because I remember saying, and I remember talking to you about it in my interview to be a leader, of feeling almost a little bit of jealousy of like why is God using him so much? Like I've been following God faithfully. I'm gonna put quotes on that because I wasn't following him faithfully, but I was professing his name for at that point 21, 22 years, and Riley's getting all these blessings, and he came later, and he really started getting that rejuvenation in Christ. And he was like, "Hey man, like I think you should apply for a leader. It's gonna take a lot of time, but like I really think you should do it." And I was like, but I'm gonna have football, but I'm gonna have this. Immediately trying to play the excuses into my head, and then I was like, you know what, like let's do it. And so I applied, got to sit down, have a conversation with you and Katie. Katie, if you are watching, I'd love to have you on at some point. Definitely need to get her on as well. Another huge person and pillar in getting my faith back. But yeah, it's just been like you talked about, getting to see that, and I know you can really talk on it because you were there since the beginning. How many people were really coming when you guys first started college ministry before it was Saltco?
Yeah, those first few, we had like 160, 170. And then this last fall, we ran 300.
Mm-hmm.
So, um, yeah, God's just been kind.
Absolutely. Well, I've only got a few more questions, but the big one that I was happy that we were leading into is walking through college, then meeting Rachel, going through your relationship with Rachel, but now you have a kid, and Kyler is awesome, and I know that you and Rachel are very very thankful for him and how God has blessed you to be his parents. But I asked this to my mom, and thinking about it again, I think it's such like a unique question. I'm not trying to pat myself on the back here, but how has being a father changed an aspect of your faith more than just the, oh my goodness, like I get to be the caretaker, but almost how, when I was thinking about it, how God takes care of us, right? Like God's telling us, hey, don't do that, you're going to get hurt, and they go and do it, and then you're like, I told you. And obviously Kyler's a lot younger, but in that sense of almost like God watching the Israelites in the wilderness, God watching us do things that we're doing, being a father, getting to almost be that person who has a lot more knowledge than somebody else, being their person, their rock for that time. How has that really or how you aspect of your faith or view or changed your view on how you view God?
So good question. Um, I think a lot. I mean, I think in a lot. Um, you don't know how patient God needs to be with you until you've been a parent. Um, just because it's like, oh man, I have to be patient with Kyler, and everyone knows they have to be patient with a toddler. Like they don't know any better, and it's like, oh, I actually think that's how God's been patient with me. Like even though I thought I knew better, I think He's just like has such a long view on my life. That's like, oh, sanctification takes time. And not that he's excusing sin. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying more his grace is so deep because his love is so deep and because he has a longer view on my life than I do. And so, yeah, I think patience, a father's heart of just love, grace, um, and even like discipline. We don't really discipline Kyler a whole lot yet. He's not, he's not even one. But I think even as we think about discipline, it's like, oh, discipline actually comes out of love, right? Like, because I want Kyler to be the type of man that can walk through hard things and be a man of integrity through them. And so when I like discipline him, it's because I actually want godliness for him, not that I'm trying to like rob him of it or rob him of freedom. Like I actually want freedom for him. And I think freedom's found in doing hard things really well. Um, or that's a type of freedom. And so I'm going to discipline him so that um, he can be the type of person I want him to be.
That's such a genuine
I think God
perspective.
wants him
Yeah,
to be more important.
yeah, and like you talked about, like I think that's the biggest thing with trials and sin and corruption in the world that people have such a skewed mind of is like if God's so nice and God's so loving and so perfect, why does He allow these things? It's like we have that free will, and bad things happen, like you said, like wanting to form you into the man that you're, or at least that you have vision for Kyler, and God has a perfect vision for us, and that's why He's letting those things happen.
Yeah. Yeah. And just like growing into maturity, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like freedom is not doing whatever you want.
Yeah,
Like we know that that robs people of joy. And so, yeah.
100%. I heard a quote, and I don't want to keep using this quote because it's not mine. But there's this guy, Bryce Crawford. I don't know if you've heard or seen any of his stuff on YouTube or Instagram, but he said a quote, and it's just really, really stuck with me that talks about, at least a lot early in my Christian walk, or I guess I should say in the early college when I was almost getting out of my faith, is, it's like, okay, well, like, this isn't freedom. Like, I'm not allowed to do this. My friends are doing that. That's not freedom. Like, God's saying I can't do this. Like, what's the fairness in that? And then I heard this quote, and it was, sin feels like freedom until you try to stop. And like since hearing that, I'm like, oh my goodness, that's so so right. Um, and yeah, it's just God has such a perfect plan for me, and so often in my life am I trying to be like, nah, I got this, God, don't worry.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's exactly right. I mean, that's exactly what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. Only a few more questions. I want to ask first. Which one do I want to ask first? They're kind of around the same things, but actually, since we're talking about the faith, before we get into last couple more personal questions, is and Addison just texted me. He said, like, love to do another one with you in the future. So definitely, if you're up to it in a good while, love to do a follow up because this has been like such a genuine conversation. Every time I have a conversation with you, I feel like I'm learning something new, or I'm getting to ask you something else because I have some bizarre questions that maybe on the next episode if we get you on, I'll ask you some more of those bizarre questions like if we still live under grace, if we could time travel back into the law, questions like that. But I want to ask you really quickly, just as because I'm hoping a lot of young Christians are watching this or people who are getting into their faith. What is the biggest piece of advice in defending your faith or standing firm in it that you wish you heard earlier?
Yeah, I think when I was young, historical reliability was huge. Like defense against the crucifixion and resurrection, and I think those are beautiful things that make great arguments for why the Christian faith um, is beautiful. But I think I wish I would have thought a little critically earlier on about um, a little bit what we talked about earlier, like at the very beginning, which is the sociological and psychological and biological defense of the Christian faith. Like, why should we trust the Bible? It's like, because it feels like 21st century psychology is catching up to what the Bible's been saying for 2,000 years. Like, um, the way people flourish is in community, and the way that societies are grown is on a foundation of morality, and sexual freedom actually isn't freeing people, it's enslaving people, and it's causing more depression. I'm not saying directly, but we live in like a sexually free world that is isolated, that's more depressed than it's ever been. It's like, oh, actually, I wonder if there's something to the Christian faith that's true because of what we see in psychology, sociology, and biology.
Yeah, 100%. That's a great piece. I wish. I think actually, oh my goodness. I'm sorry. I just had a huge light bulb click on that. Thinking critically, I think that's what Saltco, being a leader, made me do so much, which really kind of affirmed my faith. You talked about in discipleship group earlier, way earlier in the talk, or at least that's what we called a discipleship group in Saltco. But like getting to talk with others, and my leader Logan, if you're watching this, love you, buddy. Asking questions that didn't just make me be like, okay, yes, God says this, so this is what I'm supposed to do. Asking questions like, okay, well, like, why are you doing this? Like, think critically about it.
Mm-hmm.
That's, oh my goodness.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so happy you said that, because for the longest time I've been thinking about like what really caused that full on switch. Like a lot of it, I'd always say, is my mom getting cancer. It was seeing my friends get into faith and seeing how happy they were. It was me dealing with depression, anxiety, and all that stuff. I'm so happy you said that. Oh my goodness, sorry. I just had a huge light bulb switch on.
Awesome.
All right, two more questions. Last one that's kind of a little more serious, but and this is open ended. You can make this about the faith, or you can make this personally about your marriage, being a father, or even just playing sports or whatever you want to do. What's firing you up right now? Like kind of let us a little bit into like what's going on in your life. Like what's getting you going? What's getting you up in the morning saying, "Let's freaking go. Let's go attack this day."
Hmm. That's a good question. Another good one. I think the first thing that came to mind, which there are probably multiple, but is people have far more potential than they think they do, and that's not a self-help. I think God has made people to do really beautiful things, and I think when we live in fear, and that fear is like he might not use me, or he can't use me in this way, or I'm not good at that, and that's the only way God uses people. Whatever that fear is, robs us of um, what God might actually want to do with our life. And so I think the thing that's getting me fired up is like me personally asking the question, like, what has God made me to do? And helping other people ask and answer that question. What has God made you to do? And how do you live into that today? And how do you set yourself up to continue to live in that for the next 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years?
That's awesome. True competitor answer right there. Which, speaking of competition, you've still yet to play me in basketball. Let the record show this man has continued to dodge me in playing basketball.
Let the record show that that's true. And I will not be the reason for a cut short football career.
That's all right. We'll get it eventually. We're still waiting to see. But all right, again, I don't want to take too much of your time. I can't thank you enough for everything you've done in my life. This time on the show, um, just like how much you're doing in Colorado, Arvada specific. I genuinely cannot thank you enough. Our this past fall when we opened up at Mines, we did One Salt Co first at Mines. That I was not expecting that entire auditorium to be full to where people are lining up the stairs. That was amazing, and not saying
Yeah,
that you're
God's
the
been
reason for it,
kind.
yeah, but God's speaking through you, man.
Yeah, thanks for saying that. That's kind. It's been fun, man. I think this is uh, maybe the most fun job I'll ever have in my life, and so um, I'm trying to enjoy it, and hopefully other people. It's a gift to others
Yeah.
for as long as He lets me ride it out.
Well, hopefully that's as long as you're here. But last thing, at this point, it's just becoming a running joke on our show. However, I do have to ask you: does pineapple belong on pizza?
Absolutely,
Let's go.
absolutely. And if you say it doesn't, then you're settling. It's like living in sin. You're settling for a lesser version of the life God's calling you to, because pineapple. Yeah, let those who believe pineapple belongs on pizza rejoice.
Oh, I
Proverbs
wish Addison was
32.
here. I wish Addison was here. He is an avid pineapple hater. So, all right. Well, that's all I got. Thank you so much. Would love to have you on again in the future. But yeah, thank you for your
Yeah,
time,
I
man.
would love that. That'd be awesome.
Thank you guys for watching. It was a great conversation with Colin. We covered a numerous amount of topics, but we got to hear about his testimony, his journey from being a business major to then going into ministry, moving from Minnesota to Colorado. We talked about family life and how he got to where he is there and much more. So, uh, thanks for watching. Follow us on Instagram and TikTok. Found, both are at Found in the Flock. Thank you.